Well, Shaka, Manchester United have certainly picked up of late. A few people are saying, yeah, wait till they get a proper test. Well, they've probably got the hardest test that they could ask for at the Etihad this Sunday when they face the noisy neighbours, Manchester City. We're going to talk about various matchups, Erling Haaland and Lisandro Martinez. But first of all, as a fixture, it's one that both sides have tasted success in over the past few meetings. What are you expecting this Sunday from the Manchester derby?
First of all, let me just say in response to something you just said, United beat Arsenal in this run. And while I think there can be a discussion around Arsenal and their fixtures so far this season, that's a topic for another day. I had Arsenal finishing top four. I didn't have Manchester United finishing in top four. So United getting the better of Arsenal is a good result, and one that Manchester United quite clearly can build on. Now, despite what the tables may say right now, Arsenal, Manchester City, not quite. It's a far firmer test. But then, again, expectations around both these clubs are very different. And while both have enjoyed success in individual encounters, I'm not so sure you can say that about both these teams in the bigger picture of league campaigns and title wins. But this is a United team that come into this with good form. They've won their last four in the league. I know they've won one, lost one in the Europa League, but they've won the last four in the league. And given how the season started, this is an incredible run for them to be on. And now they come up against Manchester City. Their season will not be defined by this game. I've just made that point in terms of league titles, but it will be a significant indicator as to what's to come for Ten Hag and under his tutelage. So I think it's an interesting test for Manchester United. Given what we've seen from the top of the table thus far and the continued expectations around Manchester City, it may prove to be a firmer test than maybe the start of the season would suggest, but one that I still think City should win and will want to win, not just for local bragging rights, but just in terms of keeping their own run going, keeping themselves at least within touching distance at the top of the table.
Yeah, you and I have previewed the last couple of Manchester derbies at the Etihad. The last one, City won pretty comfortably. But I remember the time before when we previewed that one, we were saying, oh, how are United going to win this one? City are huge favourites. United went there and won by 2-0. What's the difference between the United of then and the City of then compared with the United of now and the City of now?
Well, in terms of United and upsets, it's a lot easier to play when there's no real expectation, when you're not really chasing anything. Nerves just don't become a part of it, and a lot of times it's just about bragging rights, and that's what you saw. A little bit surprising from a City perspective, given their own experience sitting at the top of the table, where we were talking last season or many seasons ago. So to have nerves and those big occasions be a factor is a little bit surprising. But this is a United team that all of a sudden are exceeding expectation, and we'll be looking at this game more as I said before, an indicator of who they really are and what this season may promise, as opposed to just an opportunity to give their fans something to cheer about. For City, again, as surprising as that result was last time around, does lightning strike twice? And that for me is a big question and a real test for a City team who, when they signed Haaland and when you look at his numbers, the fact that City have dropped points this early in the season has come as a little bit of a shock to many. So we want to see exactly how good this City team is. I still believe that, especially as we go deeper into the season, especially as we go into 2023, City will more and more start to shift their focus towards that trophy that's eluded them, the Champions League, and maybe that distracts them from what's happening in the league. So we'll see. They want to get those points in the bag as early as possible to give themselves some opportunity, some leeway in terms of squad rotation to balance the Champions League as they chase that title.
If you were Erik ten Hag, would you try and come up with something special, some kind of plan to stop Erling Haaland? And if you did, what would that mean for the rest of your game plan?
Listen, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what kind of a plan, further than locking Haaland in the dressing room, will actually work. In all honesty, but let's assume that Ten Hag doesn't have all the keys to lock him in the dressing room. What do? You look at Manchester United's, well, the two centre backs, Varane and Martinez, who played, and the only thing that makes any kind of sense is to make sure at all costs that Varane is the one who's paired up one-on-one with Haaland, because Martinez can't compete physically. Varane is a lot quicker, I think, than he looks. So maybe he can match Haaland in that regard. And then you try to cut off supply. And I think that's where McTominay, again, who was favoured last time out, maybe he's the player that just kind of sits in front of that back four, trying to offer some kind of protection, some kind of physicality, in coping with Haaland.
United will want Rafael Varane to mark Erling Haaland. City, and probably Haaland, well, Haaland won't care, but if he had a choice, there's a 7-inch height differential between him and Lisandro Martinez. So as much as you say United will try their best to have Rafael Varane on Erling Haaland, if Haaland decides that he's going to take himself all over the place, which he normally does, but the one he really wants to go up against, because he thinks with a 7-inch height differential, he's untouchable, is Lisandro Martinez. So how does that play out? Do you do a man-to-man marking job on him? Do you do zonal? What do you do if one team wants one player marking the other star striker, but the team with the star striker want the star striker on the guy who's 7 inches shorter than him?
Absolutely. Listen, nothing happens in a vacuum here. And as much as I'm saying, get Varane on Haaland, it's easier said than done. I mean, that's the nature of the game. The striker, in this case, Haaland, is free to roam wherever he is. Even if you put a man marker on him, he can try to tie up somebody else. I don't think that's the option. If you drift onto Martinez, you have to make sure that Varane is covering, that he has cover and he has support. That's just a part of the game. That matchup is going to happen from time to time, and it's how you cope with it. Regardless of how much you plan and how much you convince Varane that he has to get close to Haaland, that matchup with Martinez is going to happen. And that's when the cover of Varane becomes important. That's when the cover of McTominay, I'm saying McTominay because I think Eriksen, who played alongside McTominay, will be given a freer role in terms of creating for Manchester United going forward. So I'm picking on McTominay to carry the brunt of that midfield defensive responsibility. And that's where he comes in, how he positions. McTominay takes his position off of Haaland, regardless of where Haaland goes or which centre-back he's on. He has to take his possession on McTominay and wherever that service is coming from. If Haaland is one-on-one with Varane, you're happy for that. That's the partnership you want, you're hoping for. If he drifts onto Martinez, how can Varane make sure and keep that cover? All sound well and good sitting in my living room as we are here, Mark, playing up against Haaland, as we've seen time and time again over the last few years, is nothing but is nothing about it at all is straightforward. It's all about how you can try to minimize his impact, and then you just hope for the best.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like United have to worry about other players like Kevin De Bruyne or Phil Foden or anything like that. It's going to be a tough one for them, and City are favourites. Just finally, For any of us football fans, one of the first fixtures we always look out for is when are we playing our rivals, whether it's from the city or whether it's from just down the road or whatever. The derby for football fans means so much. Do you think it means as much to Pep Guardiola for City to face Manchester United, or is it just not another game? Because it'll never be just another game when it's Man City against Man United. But do you think he sees United as much of a threat as Liverpool or any of the other teams?
It means a lot on the day. To put exactly what you're saying into context, I remember when I was at Newcastle, they did a poll of the fans and they asked, would you accept losing to Sunderland, our local rivals, not to City, but Northeast rivals? Would you accept losing to Sunderland 5-0 if it meant winning the Premier League title? And it was split right down the middle. 50-50. That's how much it meant. That's how much it meant to Newcastle fans.
Come on, you take the title all day long.
Well, you and I both would vote. We take the title and the 5-0 hiding. That's our vote. I'm just telling you what the poll came back and said. Now, do I think if you poll Pep Guardiola, anybody in that City dressing room, or indeed Manchester City fans, if it would come back anywhere similar? No. I think you'll accept the 5-0 hiding from Manchester United if you go on and won another title. So it means a lot for bragging rights on the day. But ultimately, this is not what defines your season. For clubs like Manchester City, who are used to life at the top, your city is only defined come the end of May.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.